I wanted to wait to start complimenting you until we were recording because I want this on record how much I admire you. But
Gotta
before,
schmooze.
dude, yeah. Well, before I do it, how are you with compliments? Because I suck at receiving them.
I'd rather read them than hear them, but like in person, like I always want to turn it on them.
I'm pretty like I get really awkward and I kind of make weird noises. I'm just like, no. I became aware of you in I, Tonya, and I remember thinking like, oh, this dude's really funny, but I wasn't sure if it was one of those instances of casting someone to kind of just play themselves because it was so
Oh,
good.
right.
And I was like, this guy's really good, but maybe that's just him. And then in Richard Jewell, that's whenever had already been a fan, and then I see you in that, and I'm gonna explain what I mean by this, but I had the same thought watching you in that as I had watching Jessica Chastain and Take Shelter. And the reason is Michael Shannon is one of my all-time favorites. He's just one of the most fascinating people to watch. Watching that though, I watched it for him and I'd seen her in some other things and was already a fan. But then when I'm seeing her share the screen with one of the people I admire most in that line of work, I was like, oh, she's not just like hanging in there with them. She's like, there are moments and beats and lines and scenes where she's like, no, this is mine. And I was watching her more than Michael Shannon in some moments. And from then I was like, oh, I'm hooked. I'll watch anything she's in. And with you and Richard Jewell, Sam Rockwell is one of my, like, he's on my Mount Rushmore. I saw you in that with him and obviously Kathy Bates and John Hamm, and you were just like, you were owning it. From then on, I was like, okay, I'm gonna watch everything this guy's in. So
That's nice. Thank you, man. And I always saw myself more like your grandpa, like Barry Corbin, or these older character actors like Jack Warden or Rod Steiger. Like I just always saw myself growing into being one of those older character actory dudes. But getting Richard Jewell was really weird. It was somebody saying, "Hey, I believe that you're capable of this," and I think that it's a little scary because it's like obviously we would all love to be, you know, the titular character in a movie or something, but there's something safe about being a supporting player. The film doesn't rest on your shoulders. You know who you reminded me of? You kind of reminded me of Adam Sandler. I was watching the show and I kept getting these Sandler vibes, not because of your performance. Your performance was uniquely its own thing, but you could totally play like his younger brother or something in like a drama. That would be great.
I get that and Jason Biggs a lot. Those are the two big ones.
You see Biggs too, yeah.
Yeah. All the Jewish guys.
Yeah, a little both. Yeah. And a little bit of Jason Schwartzman. I don't know.
Yeah. I'll take it.
Good looking guys, though. For the most part, I wasn't bullied that much. I had maybe 5 to 6 years in my youth, somewhere between the ages of like 6 and 11, maybe, where I was a bit of a target because I was chubby, but I wasn't like strong, you know? I still feel that way. I'm stronger than I was when I was a kid, obviously, but I was like chubby, but not strong and certainly not fast. And I wasn't really good with girls. I was popular because I was funny and I was a performative person. I was gregarious, but yeah, no, I was a little bullied as a kid, not harshly, but the weight was always on my mind. It was always tubby, fatty, somebody poking your ribs and doing the hoo-hoo sound, like the laugh of the Pillsbury Doughboy from the commercials. And, you know, that hurt. But I was also a bit of, you know, I was a kid too. I wasn't perfect. I was probably a bit of a prick or a jerk to other people and said things probably that I didn't even know were insensitive. I'm still learning what is and isn't sensitive. And I'm reading books like White Fragility. And
I just read that.
Man, it was very humbling. And I sent a big text to my buddy, John Majors, who I did the Five Bloods with. But I just said to him, I just apologized. I said, man, I'm sorry that every time I spoke of you in press or to your face, I always kept saying, you're the next Denzel Washington or whatever. And it's like, I was unconsciously saying that because he's a black man and Denzel is also a black man in the act. And that was really frustrating to realize I was doing that. I didn't even know that I was doing that. And when we all grow up, we don't look at ourselves like I'm the next great white actor. We just look at it like I'm going to act, or I'm going to wear a cape, or I'm going to wear hold a Tommy gun and be the bad guy. We don't think that way. So I've had to correct a few things just culturally and socially. And I'm having a good time. It feels good to correct it. You know, it doesn't feel like, oh, now I can't say this word. Oh, social etiquette. It's like, no, I'd rather not hurt people's feelings. And those words or those turns of phrases or whatever, none of it is really important enough to fight for over the humanity of another person, you know?
Yeah. And it's,
Yeah.
change is necessary for growth. I got to the point where I started using self-deprecating humor kind of as like a crutch. So I'd be like, oh, here comes the cripple, or say things about myself before other people could. Did you do the same type of thing?
Oh yeah, I still do it, man. And it's so unconscious because I've been doing it for so long. So it's not like I started being self-deprecating yesterday. I'm like you. I have like a decade or two of kind of learned behavior that doesn't benefit me at all. It just makes me feel momentarily strong because I feel eternally weak.
When I'm around people I feel secure around, and that make me feel loved and accepted in spite of any flaws or things that I perceive as flaws, I don't do it. It's only around the people I'm more insecure around, which is interesting.
But
You asking me that, I never really made that connection. But you asking if I still do that, I just now had that realization that like, oh yeah, that's why I do it in front of those people. So thanks for that.
oh, I mean, this is part of why I started therapy last year. I tell people when I meet young actors, I tell them, treat every scrimmage like a Super Bowl. Like you have to treat it like it matters because you don't know who's going to see that. And what if Spielberg wakes up one day and is a huge fan of The Chosen and is like, I'm going to see what this thing is all about. You're going to hope you crushed it, even if you have 2 lines.
The opening sequence where all of the apostles are slightly aged and they're recounting their memories of how they first met Jesus.
That was cool.
That was actually the first time I've ever had to cry on camera. And I've cried in classes and in auditions, and I've done that. I just hadn't had the opportunity to do it on camera, and I was always terrified of it just because I had never done it. And I was like, there've been auditions in the past where I wasn't able to get there to that point.
Sure.
So because of that, I'm like, what if that happens on set? What if and it says specifically in the script, little James breaks down. So it's like, I can't fake it. I can't hide it. I don't want to
you can fake it.
You can, yeah.
Not going to look as good.
Right, exactly. We got in there and we did 10 takes, and I was able to get there every time. And that was
10 takes? You got there every time?
Somehow it was 10 takes. We did 5 takes with one setup. We changed the setup and then did 5 more. And part of it was, now that I'm so like, if it had been my first day on set, I don't know if I would have been able to every single time. But the fact that I already have this relationship developed with everyone, and it's kind of a morbid thought, but we're sitting there at one of the other apostles' funerals. We're there recounting how we met Jesus. So we're there missing 2 people that we loved and that we were close to. And when I was sitting there with all of these people that I've grown so close to, I was like, one day we're going to be sitting at one of our funerals talking about each other. And it's like, and it was such a morbid thought, but that was like, oh man, like it was really heavy.
I mean, your performance in that moment was perfect. And also the editor cut it out at a really great part. And, I can't tell you how much my editor, Joel Cox, made me look good in Richard Jewell. I mean, like, really, really is helpful in finding all the little moments. So if you did 10 takes of that, like the one he or she chose was great. By the way, sorry, I feel like I have to point this out. I'm drinking Pedialyte. I got some tummy trouble right now.
Oh no.
I think I'm a little dehydrated. My limp today is the fact that I'm feeling a little tummy trouble and I'm getting a colonoscopy on Tuesday. So
oh wow.
That's my limp. Well, I mean, there's a bunch of stuff I'm still working through, but I think I'm working through this mustache. I keep touching my nose because little hair follicles tickle the bottom of my nose. People look at me like thinking I'm a cocaine person or something. Like I'm literally I'm literally feeling like I have to push my mustache down so it doesn't tickle my nose.
Since we talk a lot about our insecurities and the things we struggle with, what is something that you love about yourself?
Oh wow, there's a question of seldom if ever been asked. I think I think I love that I like making myself laugh and making other people laugh. And I don't know, it's just such a bleak, dark world sometimes that I like being around funny people, and I like to think I'm a funny guy.
Yeah, I think you're pretty funny. So I agree with that. Yeah.
We were
Um,
both at 911. We're obviously hilarious.
yeah,
Okay.
I killed as the dead body.
Well, let me ask you. Let me turn around on you to end this. What's something you like about yourself that you can say and not feel weird about?
It's a weird question. Like
It is.
whenever
Yeah.
I would say that the thing I love about myself is that I am incredibly determined. I think that when I set my mind to something, there's nothing that's going to stop me from doing it. I may have doubts about whether or not I can do it every now and then. I may have doubts about whether or not I deserve it. But if I want to do it, I'm not going to stop until I accomplish it. So I'm very, very determined. I'm
That's great,
very
man.
um yeah, determined, and also I guess I really love people. I love connecting with people, and so I guess desire to connect with others is something that I love as well, and that's the main reason I did this podcast, to talk with
Yeah, what to say? You're
awesome
doing
people
it
like
right
you.
now.